fresh day. I hope you're up, shaking, and baking. I tell everybody that listens to the Paul Fo podcast that we only interview the best of the best. And today I've got an amazing personality as well. His name is Mr. I call him Dr. Gabriel Balogun. He's the head of L&D Money Points. That means learning and development. We're going to have a great chat today. You would learn how to employ people in your company, how to train your people to produce maximum results. Gabriel, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today, my brother?
I'm fresh and fabulous. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So can you give us a bit of a background story of how did you fall in love with L&D? Because I follow your journey, and I know you've always loved learning and development. So how did you get here?
Interesting question. So there's a version of this story on Twitter. It's a pinned post on my Twitter profile. But I think it started in 2014. Yeah,
Okay.
2014. So I've actively been doing this for a little above 10 years, above a decade.
Wow.
It started in 2014. I was reading mathematics in FUTA, Federal University of Technology, Akure. And then I went for the required industrial training. And where I did my industrial training, we call it IT in Nigeria,
Yeah.
I saw what my future looked like if I didn't come out with very good grades. I got tired of reading maths. It was exciting, but it was just boring. I couldn't find how to apply it in real life. So it was tough. And I was on very, very, very low grades. And so when I came out, I was like, is this what I'm going to do the rest of my life? Would I be packing spare parts, brake pads, and putting in the store? Because it wasn't a 2-1, it was a lower class. And I was like, how am I going to do it? I don't want this. So I discovered the concept of Ikigai, which was finding your reason for being. And it sort of revolves around 4 things: the things you know how to do very well, the things you love, the things people can pay you for, and the thing the world needs. And 2 things popped up: fashion design and education. And I
Yeah.
was already doing fashion design from 2012. But then when I did the whole maths, I was like, do the world really need another fashion designer? Or do the world need somebody that can help humans develop? Because the day the human beings stop developing, the world dies, right? Evolution is a learning and development practice, if I should put it that way. Evolution is humans adapting, and you cannot adapt if you're not learning, right? And so it just dawned on me that education was the thing, and I was really good at it. And so I spent the final part of my final year in school, 2015, just getting better at it. I started teaching my colleagues live after school how to write CVs. I mean, luckily for me, I was in a fellowship that had about 200, 300 people. So I could gather people after service and just say, come learn how to write CV, come learn how to, we didn't even know it was personal branding then, but just interviews, how to speak better, how to dress better, communication, how to send emails, all of those things. And I did that for 1 year. And then I went to serve and I continued. So when I was leaving school, I had 2 years experience in what we call training,
Yeah.
facilitation and training.
Yeah.
And 2017, I met you, Paul,
Yeah.
and I interned. I like to think of it as an internship. It wasn't a job,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
was it was
Yeah.
it was an internship. It was a grooming place, and I did like another 6 months there with you. And that 6 months literally is the foundation of everything I know today. So in terms of mental toughness, I remembered there was a time I was struggling with something, and you showed me Tony Robbins video, and it was like the problem with human beings is not that they don't have resources, it's that they are not resourceful.
Yeah.
If you remember, I was at Wings on VI beside the coffee shop. We were doing
Yeah.
a training for
Yeah.
that beautiful glass training
Yeah.
studio. It was in the morning,
I remember.
and that just shaped my life because I'm like, I mean, there are many stories. I mean, for instance, my colleagues tell me I'm very intense, and I picked that up from you because I mean, we would go for pitching, and as soon as we're done, they tell us what they want. In their company, we don't go out. We sit down, we design the proposal, we send it back to them. So those things built in me this discipline that many people see today and say, how did you achieve this? But it came because I had 6 months of working with you that groomed me. I mean, how to communicate with passion, because when you communicate without passion, people just feel like you don't respect their time. But that intensity, people feeling the passion, knowing that this person, I mean, when people see you're passionate about something, they buy into it faster
Yeah.
than when you're not. And those things just sort of set me up, right? And then after 6 months with you, I had an opportunity to not intern this time, but work in a brand consultancy firm. And with my background in styling and personal branding, and then coming in with training and facilitation, it just made sense because now we were building a training school where they wanted to be teaching principles and they needed somebody to coordinate it. And again, when I asked them why they chose me, and they said they called you and asked you, and you told them, he said, that's my boy. If you don't hire him, you are in for, like you're gonna miss out on something. And that was it for her. And she hired me. And from there, I worked with Trisha Bees after her. And Trisha said the same thing, that she called you and you gave that feedback. And what that did for me was that he reminded me, or not reminded, he informed me that wherever you are, you need to do your absolute best.
Yeah.
If you are faithful in little, more will be given to you.
That's right.
And the little that I was doing, the seemingly little things that I did with you sort of just opened doors.
Yeah.
And I think in 2020, I made a final decision that I was done working with people. Because in my first 5 years after school, the goal was to select people and work with them. So look for, and that happened. I was blessed enough to work with top personalities. Everybody I worked with from 2016 till 2020 were senior people in their spaces, recognized. And I was able to learn principles, right? And they were all doing education. So I was able to learn, this is how this person got here. These were their personal attitudes. These were their habits that I could pick. And then in 2020, I decided I wanted to now work for organizations, right? And so I had my first EdTech experience. I'd worked with Trisha and we built an EdTech. I built the learning management system from scratch as a novice. But that set me up for coming into Utiva, which is one of the biggest names in tech education in Nigeria and Africa possibly. And then I did stuff with them, built their L&D, their learning department from scratch, built the learning management system that they used up until last year before they changed it. And then that set me up for MoneyPoint, right? So you could see that it was taking one opportunity from the other and just giving my absolute best, but learning things along the way.
Yeah.
And then I took everything I'd learned working with senior men and this my first corporate experience into MoneyPoint. We were still known as Team Up then. We're not $1 billion company. We're not a unicorn then. We had prospects. We had just gotten into the market. I joined a year after they had launched the MoneyPoint product. And then I was hired to come, they saw what I did with it and they were like, we have a bunch of people, tens of thousands of salespeople on the field, but we need somebody that can build a digital learning academy that can allow these people learn on the go.
On the go,
because they're salespeople, you can't get them out of work into class.
Yeah.
So you have to create a system that allows them to learn. And so we sat down and thought about what's the best way to do this and figured out, there's an existing CRM tool. What if we get the portal and integrate it with their CRM tool, such that the same tool that they use for everything, there's learning in one of the menus? And that's what we did. And I mean, by March 2021, we got our MFB license. We were already scaling. These guys were doing amazingly well. They understood the product because they were learning weekly. And I mean, it wasn't long before we became a unicorn, because when people understand your product well, there's a desire for them to sell because the commissions and the money they get is beneficial. And then you have a good product.
Yeah.
Forget it. The world is your canvas because you can paint anything on it. So that's like an abridged version of my story to where I am today.
Wow.
I joined as a learn and development specialist just to do that singular work for the sales team. But then 6 months later, I was promoted into head of learning.
Wow, praise
to
God.
build the department because they saw what
You did.
was doing for the sales team.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, grown up to the current grade level that I am, and it's all fun now because I now have a team of about 90 plus people. I have the literal Nigeria covered with training officers across. And then I have my core team of 7 that we're doing something amazing. So give or take about 90 plus people are reporting to me every day.
Wow.
Well, we're doing good. It's a big company. Moneypoint is a big company. So
Very, very big. Very, very,
we're doing
very,
good.
very, very, very big. So Gabriel, from your experience of in learning and development,
Hmm.
are the people that you train in these organizations, the ones that perform well, what are some of their
Hmm.
traits?
The first
After
thing
the
is that
learning, what are some of
after
those
the learning,
traits? Yes.
the first thing is that the number one man in the company is passionate about learning, not from a I just like to learn. I know that people must learn, but from a perspective of I am a consumer of knowledge myself. I read books, I read blogs. I want my people to be as crazy about education as I am. That literally it, it goes down, it trickles down because his lieutenants too will be passionate about learning because they know they can't go to the boss with bare theories. It will tackle them and say, where's your source? Where are you learning this from? Are you developing it? And then that goes down to the middle managers and down to the last person. So the first thing is if the CEO is very passionate about learning, you see him sign up for courses, you see him in webinars, you see him speak, you see him in all of those things. By default, people know that they are not doing a training because it's just to tick the box. They are doing it because it is important. The second thing is training is a core value in the organization, not because it's on the wall, but because performance review tie learning is tied to performance review. So if there's a couple of things you're supposed to learn based on expectations from you, so development opportunities, you've been reviewed in the last 3 months and you're terrible at writing sales letters or you're terrible at communication and you're supposed to learn it for the next 3 months before your review. If they know that I'm going to lose a certain figure for not completing this training and not practicing it in the 3 months before the next performance review, they take learning serious. Right. So those are 2 things. The third thing would be them also having the right person driving learning. I mean, training is not to tick a box. I even don't like to think, I think of myself as a performance improvement specialist. And so my job every day is to sit with everybody and see what are you chasing and what do you need? What resources do you need? Oh, I want to learn how to write codes faster. What does that look like every day? What would you report to your own line manager as success at the end of 3 months? Oh, this is it. Okay, what are the skills you need to do that? Oh, this is it. Okay, so if I give you resources to do this, if you do it, it will help you achieve your goal, Abby. Yes, that's it. So sometimes we people in the attempt of trying to tick a box just do trainings, but forget that this training doesn't help this person achieve his personal goal. So if the customer support lead, for instance, wants to improve the CSAT score of the organization, maybe they're on a 3.0 and they want to get to a 3.5. Your training should be the things that would help her get 3.5. That way, even the people doing the training will be the first to come to class because they know we are going to learn the things that will help us do our jobs better. If we do our jobs better, we'll be promoted. And if we do our jobs better, the person can report to management, although we've grown by 0.5% in our CSAT score. And then me, I can go and boast to management that I did a training with CS and he helped them move from 3.0 to 3.5. And the management sees that there's return on investment and gives me more money for training.
I
So that's
like
how to
that.
think. It's the right person at the end of
This guy
it.
is good,
Right? So
man.
those are like the things that I think.
This guy is good, man.
Yeah.
Gabriel, for the benefit of people who don't know what a CSAT score is, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because I don't even know
All
what a
right.
CSAT
Thank
score
you.
is.
Oh, so a CSAT is what we call the customer satisfaction score. It is also what people call the net promoter score. They are different though. CSAT is more customer centered. So
Oh, net
when
promoter
people use
score is
your
more
product,
popular. Yeah.
it's more popular. So for instance, CSAT is you use Spotify,
Mhm.
and once you're done, maybe you use it for 3 weeks, and Spotify tells you rate us.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
It
And then
makes
you
sense.
give them like a 5 star. So
Yeah.
that's For some, that 5 star is figure 5. 1 star is figure 1. So if they do that for January, at the end of January, out of their million of customers, they will check who rated, what's the most starred that we've got, stars that we got. Is it 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars? If it's 3 stars, that's a 3.0. So in January 2025, for instance, they can see we had a CSAT score of 3.0. It's more complicated, a bit of mechanics to it, but that's like a rough idea of what a CSAT score looks like. So it's the way the customer support team boasts to the management or to their executives that people love our product.
Gotcha.
People love our service, right? The next promoter is more of a product. So next promoter is, will you recommend us? They would also, on a scale of 1 to 5, would you recommend us? If you have 4, is signal to products that they've built an excellent product. So if it's like a 2.0, is signal to product that you have a shitty product. Nobody wants to recommend it, right? So those are key metrics that drive that
I like that.
executives look out for,
I
right?
like that.
Because again, we think in learning and development and training that the key metric is the amount of people that did the training or the amount of people that told us they're satisfied with the training. That doesn't hold water in corporate organizations. For consultants, it's good because when you're speaking to another person, you can say we did a training and they rated us 5. So it's a good sales
Gotcha.
point. But internally, it doesn't hold water because nobody cares. They like it, but they're like, is this training helping us improve any of our key metrics? Is our MPS
Yeah,
growing? Is our
yeah,
CSAT growing?
yeah.
Are people? Is our sales team selling? What's the total payment volume? What's the internal volume? How much revenue are we making? Those are the things that your training must drive, right? So
Gotcha.
it's a bit complex when you are internal as an operator and you're doing learning and development. That's why most internal operators don't like to call it training. They say we are not training officers. We are learning and development because we're helping our people learn and develop to drive organizational goals.
Hold that thought there. Let me just take a word of from our
Mhm.
sponsors. Hello, guys. I hope you're enjoying this conversation. This episode of the Paul Fo podcast was powered by Femfel Developers, Femfel Property. They are HQ'd in Abuja. They're one of the fastest growing real estate companies in Nigeria. So they've got amazing properties that you can get and use as shortlets. You know, if you read the reports, the number of money that was generated in 30 December 2024 in shortlet was insane. So you want to jump into that. I'm going to leave a link in the show notes to check that out. All right. And also, our second sponsor is Sales Factory Global. Sales Factory Global is a sales recruitment company and a sales training company. If you need talent for your company, you want to recruit the top salespeople in your company, Sales Factory is actually owned by me. And so we recruit some of the best salespeople in the continent of Africa. And we're going to leave a link in the show notes as well for you to fill it up and upload your CV. If you're a founder, you can send us an email. Everything's going to be in the show notes. Let's get back to the episode with Mr. Gabriel Balogun, head of L&D Money Points. Gabriel, I want to ask you a question. There's something you said that I thought was brilliant. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
There's something you said about consequence, that when there's a bit of consequence, people take the L&D in seriously. And I also like the fact that you change your name from a L&D person to a performance. I like, because performance is the outcome, not the learning.
Exactly.
The
Not the
learning
learning.
is the process to the outcome. So I love
Exactly.
I thought that was brilliant when you said, I'm a performance, but because the learning is the vehicle, performance is the outcome. So why not talk about the outcome? So talk to us about
Exactly.
consequence, because sometimes it's L&D, but people don't participate in the trainings, and there's no consequence for the people who don't participate in the training, even if it's a digital training or physical training. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So I believe that there are two things that drive human beings. Primarily one thing, and that's consequences. For the last chunk of time, we've interpreted consequences as negative, but there are also positive consequences, right? So consequences is one coin with both sides. And if human beings do not necessarily do anything if there is not a negative consequence or a positive consequence. The negative consequence, we call it punishment.
Beautiful.
The
Beautiful.
positive consequences, we call it maybe promotion, right? Prosperity, whatever P we want to give it, right?
Mhm.
It is the job of not the learning and development department. It is actually the job of the executive team in partnership with the people operations team to set that standard that we we are going to grade your performance not just on the work that you do and deliver, but also on your ability to learn and your attitude, right? When people understand that I am graded across those three things, completion of my tasks, my attitude, and my ability to adapt, which is learn, each of the people responsible for those three things are support systems that now drive that. So your manager ensures that you have the right goals and objectives and key results so that you can do the right tasks to complete it. You get graded for that. Your manager also ensures that he's observing and following through to see that your attitude on the job is good. So you're not a great salesman, but a terrible human being. You're not a great engineer, but you don't pick calls. You don't respond to chats. You snub everybody. No matter how much good work you do, you are bad for the culture of the company. So your performance review will be affected, right? And then nobody is an island. No matter how good you are, there are development opportunities for you, right? So if we give you development opportunities and you don't are not faithful to it, you don't go for the coaching classes, or you don't show up in the training classes, or you don't complete the course, or you don't read the book, you're also communicating to us that you think you know enough and you are not interested in the direction that the organization is going. So you should also be graded for that. But today, many performance reviews are built around what were the results you delivered. And that makes it very difficult for even your manager to report to HR and say, this person has a terrible attitude. But like this is your best performer now. Why are you saying he has it? But because that is not included in performance review in that system, to them it's just managing while he keeps giving you results, right? And again, all of this is not in the hand of the chief human resource officer. It's in the hand of the executive. If the chief operating officer or the chief executive officer is a person that says, this is our culture, this is how we do things, this is how we speak, this is how we behave. If you fail at culture and you are good at execution, you're still a problem for us, right? So all of these things, I like to tell people that anybody that is in middle management, anybody that is not a chief, is predominantly supporting everything the chiefs want.
Come on now.
So it's the chief executive officer, the chief operations officer, the chief human resource officer that sets the standard. If they are not setting the standard, if they are leaving it up to head of departments, there's going to be a lot of struggle. Because just head of department, you're middle management, you are a support system to executive. So when everybody in the organization knows that we have a culture that says if they send you a message and you don't respond between 2 hours, you're going to get a query. And they know that people will respond to their chats faster. Right? If there's a query that says in the code, so HR will work and create a code of conduct policy and say part of our code of conduct is that every time you join a call, your video should be turned on. And you don't do that, you're going to get a query. And when you get this amount of query, there's a suspension. And if it continues, you're going to be fired. When that is not just in a policy, but it is driven, and you lynch people, for lack of better words, you take them to the hanging tree, and everybody comes to the circle, city square, and see how you hang those. You know, that's what they do in those days. They catch a criminal and they don't execute privately.
I saw it recently when I was reading the Prince by
So that
Machiavelli.
every other person that wants to steal will not steal, because this is what will happen.
Got
So
it.
when you execute people publicly and you give a memo around it that so person left the organization because they did this, this, and this, everybody sits up, because that's culture. And no matter how great your strategy is, we all know that attitude and behavior cannot be taught. It's one of the biggest drivers for success. If you have the best strategy and you have the wrong people driving it, they have terrible attitude, bad behaviors, your strategy will not succeed. The behavior of your people must match the strategy, or there's no execution.
Wow.
There's no execution.
This brother's good. This is a masterclass. Gabriel, I want to go a bit tactical.
Okay.
How do you track attitude? First of all, mental model first. What is attitude to you? I've been searching for the best definition of that word all my life. I know it when I see it. You get me? But in your own words, having worked all these years, work with people, because really you're an attitude specialist. What is attitude? First of all, define what attitude is, and how do you track attitude? Example of an attitude. Then I want to circle back a little bit to sales and say, from all the performance that you have done, what are some of the traits of top salespeople that you have seen in your organization? So let's start with the attitude.
So I like this question. I'm a student of psychology. I'm not just a practitioner. It is intentional. Attitude. So my definitions may be loose, but just bear with me, right? So what's attitude? Attitude, I think, is mindset.
Yeah.
It is a person's disposition towards things, situation, or even life generally. That's what attitude is. It's a person's, an attitude is a person's mindset, right? And then we know that a person's mindset is predominantly made up of three things. The cognitive part, which is the thinking, thoughts, beliefs, all of those things. We have the affective part, which is the emotions, feelings, all of those things. And then we have the action part. Some people call it the behavioral part, which is action and reaction. Right? So a person's mind encompasses those three things: what you think about, how you feel, and what you do. And those three things reveal to the world your attitude about things. So if you are a person that is proactive, for instance, and your manager gives you a task to call 10 people a day, and you end up calling 15 people, what you have communicated to your manager is that you think different and act different.
Very good.
Right? So your manager can say this person has a proactive attitude. If you do the 10 calls and you do them well, they'll say this person has a great attitude, but not proactive. If you don't do the 10 calls, they'll say this person is either laid back or unserious.
This guy's good.
That's an example of attitude, right? Another attitude, let's even go relational. Somebody gives you go into a physical office, your colleagues are around, but every time you go into the office, you don't greet people. You go with your head high, just go and sit down somewhere and work on your own and then leave. You don't interact with people. There's a strong possibility that people will say this guy has a bad attitude. They even greet person self. They relate with person self, right? But if you are the guy that comes into the office and you greet everybody, from the security guy, you give him chop knuckle, you go to the front desk office, chop knuckle, and you do all of that, people say this guy has a great attitude. What is really driving both people is the mindset. That guy may not really have a bad attitude. It's just that his own is I don't care about people. I just want to come do my work and go home. That guy will remain a very good individual contributor, but he will never be selected for leadership. The other guy may not be as good as he is, but they say this guy has the ability to rally people. Let's make him a leader. Let's give him good lieutenants. So the greatest leaders are not really the best specialists. They just have the ability to inspire and motivate people. And then they have a mental consciousness of what needs to be done. They are good at certain direction. They may not be good at executing, but they're good at certain directions and all of that. And they're good at spotting people. So when they come on board and they pick this, the stuff gets done because they know that my success is based on the amount of people that I can bring on board that can deliver. Again, so those are examples of attitude. It's what we teach when we say fixed and growth mindset. A growth mindset is a learning mindset. It's a mindset that sees problems as challenges.
Yeah.
And every time you encounter, you're toasting a girl, she has said no 5 times, but you still follow up. You still try to figure out, okay, why am I getting no? Is it because you hate me? That's a persistent attitude. Most women will tell you, we want that, especially if they like you. We want that. We want you to chase us. We want you to do all of that. I know what people say is a waste of time. If a woman doesn't want you, move on, right? But again, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Exactly.
If you wake up in the morning early, you brush your teeth, you're faithful to brushing your teeth, you'll be faithful to making your calls.
Yeah. I'm making your
bed.
If
you're faithful to dressing up well and making your bed, you'll be faithful to keeping promises, right? So how you do one thing is how you do everything. And correct. As simple as that statement is, many people don't believe. And that's like the summary of attitude.
Oh, this guy.
You cannot be great at one thing and be poor at another thing. It's not possible.
This is a masterclass. Gabriel, you have worked with a lot of salespeople as a performance specialist. Every company you work with, there are salespeople.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, great. So when you study some of your top salespeople, what are some of the traits that you see in them? So that somebody who's listening, a founder who's listening, an entrepreneur who's listening, they're trying to recruit people now. What are those traits that you have seen in them that produce results?
3 things. The first one I learned it from you is grit. It's grit. And I learned it when I was with you. I think you even shared a book with me called Grit.
Yes. Carol, Carol, is it Carol Dweck? No, not Carol Dweck. I've forgotten her name.
Carol something, I can't remember her name.
Angela Duckworth, something like that. Yeah, but go ahead, yeah.
Grit. White cover with grit reading
I'm trying to Google the book quickly, but go ahead, yeah.
Grit is, and for me, when we define grit, many people like to define grit as never give up. No. If you've done business long enough, you know that there are some things you give up on because it's just not working.
So smart.
Right? So grit is not giving up. Grit is I don't stop until the work is done. That's the real definition of grit. If I have this goal, if this goal takes me 3 years, I will chase it. Right? I don't stop until the work is done. That is grit. And when you have that mindset,
it's Angela Duckworth. So guys,
Angela Duckworth.
Angela Duckworth. Yeah.
Thank you for that, sir. Yeah. So grit is I don't stop until the work is done. Right? That's the first thing. And when you're interviewing such people, you want to look out for those things. Tell me about a time where you struggled to do something. What eventually happened? I mean, when someone tells you I did something for 5 years, it was the 6th year I got it. That's insight that this person has grit.
Got it. That person.
Right? That's one grit. The second one is technical depth. Technical depth. It's a word we use a lot at Money Point. It's one of our core values. If you are being interviewed at Money Point, what we really look out for is technical depth. Because the company is a building community. Everybody in Money Point is a builder. They've either built something on their own before joining, or they are currently building something and they join. But nobody is just a freeloader. Everybody is a builder. Sales, everybody builds something, right? And it's the technical depth. I heard it first at Money Point. It's a concept that you have to be really good at this specific thing that you are coming in for. We're not saying head knowledge. We're saying you are so good that you have your products chasing you, like your outcomes. So, for instance, I asked you about, if I'm hiring you, I asked you about, tell me about the programs you built. And you tell me, I built this program and built this program. I tell you, okay, let's delve into this one. What was your strategy? Tell me the methodology for your work. How do you build your programs? Give me, if I was a novice, give me a step-by-step plan. 1, 2, step 1, step 2. So this is step 1. This is what I do. Step 2, do. When you can do that, when you can teach your work to a granny, a grandmother, or a baby, or a 10-year-old, you have technical depth.
My God.
Right? So that's the second thing. And the third thing is relational chemistry. And this is purely sales, relational chemistry. You don't have to be the most extrovert. I'm not extroverted, but my job requires me to come out more often. You don't have to be the most extroverted person, but can you strike up conversations? Are you enjoyable? Can people talk to you? Because sales is, again, we used to give this definition that sales is proving to somebody that what you have
It's
is
more
what they
valuable than the
want to
money.
give you
That's our definition.
is, yeah, that's the Paul Foles definition,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But as I've matured, while that definition is good, I also have seen that sales is your ability to solve people's problem.
Yes, sir.
That's sales. When we try to prove so much, we lose what it means to have a conversation with a person. So sales is me listening to you and saying, and listening even to the things that you're not saying. So you're talking to me, for instance, and I want to sell land to you, but you're telling me about your child's education and telling me about this. And in that call, I can say, oh, have you tried this insurance firm? They actually give money up front to help with children's school fees. I am helping solve your problem. That is not even what I'm trying to sell. But because I understand that what I'm selling is a legacy product and I won't close you in the first 30 days, it may take 6 months before I get you to give me 100 million for a piece of land, I would consistently sustain that relationship with you. When I become the guy that you go to when you need information, need help with certain things, it's easier for you to buy from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So relational chemistry, your ability to build conversations. Even when we are interviewing, are you just answering my questions? Are we engaging? Are we having a conversation?
So good.
Are you throwing questions at me that is causing me to ponder and say, this guy, okay? And then I have to answer on the spot because I cannot not answer on the spot. Right?
So good.
Is there rapport on the call? You can't interview a salesperson and you do not see any semblance of rapport on the call. They're like, are you going to, the way you talk to me now is the way you talk, because you are, in the real sense, you are cold talking to me. We've never met. And if we cannot build rapport on this call, how are you going to build rapport with somebody down the road that you don't know? Right? So those are attitudinal characteristics to look out for when you're hiring somebody. Mental toughness, which is what we popularly call grit.
Technical depth.
Grit, technical depth. You know it. You've done it. You are not a novice. You've done sales for the last 10 years. You have results. You worked for this company. We're speaking. I'm asking you. So, what was your last year's revenue inflow? How much money did you bring in for the company that you're currently at? What's the target? And you can answer those questions. What's the methodology to your work? How do you close sales? How do you get prospects? And you can answer. That's depth, right? And as much as you read those things online, if you've never done it, your answer will be different from somebody that's done it. It's simple.
Exactly.
Especially when you ask about methodology of your work. If I ask you that question and you answer, there are more questions in each of your answers that you give me that will reveal to me whether you know what you're doing or not. And then the final one is relational chemistry. Are you a good person to talk to? Are you a conversationalist? Do you give up that aura that you're somebody I would like to have in my network or corner? Those three things are really important because without relationships, you can't sell.
Wow. Gabriel, man, this guy, you know your stuff, man. Yo.
I try.
I am just saying to myself, this conversation will be a blessing to a lot of people. Because even me, man, even those three mental models of grit, technical depth, relational chemistry. See, I remember all of them. They're so this is a masterclass of, recruiting A players for your company, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Gabriel, I know that you're very busy, man. I like to keep this podcast in 40-45 minutes. What are some of the books that have influenced you as a performance expert? And what will you recommend for a founder to look at?
I think Again, these are going to be very old books.
I prefer those ones. I call them Lindy books. They're Lindy.
Yeah, very old books. I think I'm trying to get the name. And some of these things are not books anyway. They are like research papers.
Exactly. That's fine.
So, for instance, Glaser's choice theory.
Wow.
Is an amazing book. It talks about the the 6 to 10 axioms of choice theory. It was created by William Glaser and basically just deals with human behavior. So if you're in SEAL, you need to be a student of human behavior.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
Sorry to cut you short. I heard one of my favorite recent definition of sales. The person said, "Sales is change in behavior." I thought that was brilliant.
That's another way to put it. Weirdly enough, that's how I define learning, though.
Yes, it's
I define learning as change in behavior.
Yeah.
Because when you learn something new, your behavior will change automatically.
That's it.
Right? But it's also a good definition. Yeah, so Glaser's choice theory is a book by William Glaser. He reveals to you the principles of human behavior. I think another book that I think is great is I'm trying to look through my library to see how to win friends and influence people.
Oh, that's a good classic. That's
another good book.
It's somewhere around here as well. Yeah, it's here.
That everybody.
It's here. It's a classic.
That I think everybody should read. Yeah. And then finally, if you can stumble on any of Ryan Holiday's books, Ego is the enemy.
Yeah.
The obstacle is the way.
Yeah.
There are so many books like that.
Or just listen to his podcast, The Daily Stoic. He's very good.
Those are really good books. And then there's one person, if you're thinking of, it's just that he is more skilled towards learning. So if you're a learning and development person, a trainer or something on the call, and you want to be really good at what you do, there is this guy. He's an OG. I think he has retired now, Seth. I'm trying to bring up his name. He has tons and tons and tons of book on performance. Give me a second.
No problem.
I have his name.
You can just Google it somewhere. I'll wait for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
His name is his first name is coming to my head. Guy W. Wallace.
Guy Wallace.
Guy W. Wallace. Yeah, Guy Wallace. Okay. He's one of the, I think it's the number one name in performance improvement.
Wow.
So if you're in human resource, you are in training, you are in management consulting, you are in learning and development. Guy Wallace is somebody you should look up for. He's an OG now, so all he just does is write. So you can read his blog and watch his videos. But the guy is brilliant. So those are three people that I can recommend: Ryan Holiday podcast, Guy Wallace, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie and Glaser deal more with human behaviors.
Yeah.
And all of those things. How to just be a friendly person, how to be a decent person. Those things get you further than just skills. I define great performance as the combination of knowledge, skill, and attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody that knows what they're doing well in the education space, the education space is filled with knowledgepreneurs, people that just dish out knowledge and information. Right? But you need to train people across those three things: knowledge, skill, and attitude, because those three things, when put together, create great performance.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. That's very good. I think most knowledge entrepreneurs, they over-index on the knowledge and not the skill and the attitude.
Attitude changes everything.
So their content can't work in corporate.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Can't work in corporate. Yeah. Because for corporates, they want to see skill. They want to
Skill
see
and attitude.
an attitude.
Skill and attitude. Knowledge is available.
This guy is so good, man. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Great. It's good. Good. I enjoyed it too.
I really, really enjoyed this. Like, honestly, and thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And I'm trusting the Lord that a lot of founders, CEOs, salespeople, and everybody who listens to this will feel the same. So, where do people check you out on social media? I know you're very active on LinkedIn. Can you talk about your work on LinkedIn?
Yeah. LinkedIn is the number one place to get my information for free. LinkedIn.
Do you have a product? Do you have like a book or something?
Oh yes, I have a book on seller called
I'm going to put it in the show notes.
Okay, so I can share the link with you.
Yeah, share the link with me.
I have a book. I have quite a couple of products, some free, some paid. I can share the link with you. But there are 2 books I like to talk about. Weirdly enough, they're both maybe 3 books. 2 is on personal style. The other one is on business. So I have a book called Driving Business Growth Using Learning and Development Initiatives. It's like a very simple manual that if you read and begin to apply today, you see results tomorrow. And then there is another book called How CEOs Dress. It's my first attempt in trying to teach executive presence, like document my concepts around executive presence. And why certain leaders step into the room and their word is final just because of the aura that they give out. Predominantly starting with how they look. And then I have another book called Fashionista, which is predominantly just helping people dress better because that's the passion that will never die. And I know for a fact that people judge based on appearance.
100%.
My study of humans has told me that, that no matter what you know, if you don't look like it, people will hear you differently when you speak.
Just leave it there. Let them get the book.
Yeah. So go get the book.
Do you have like a link that has all the books, like a Linktree link, so that they can click that link and have everything?
The link. I have the link. So I'm sending it to you now.
Send it and nothing. This episode will come out later today.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, so I will send you a transcript of everything. And then I thought this was brilliant. Gabriel Balogun, I want to say thank you again for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Paul4 Podcast. Again, I want to thank our sponsors for this episode, Femfel Properties, Femfel Developers, HQ in Abuja, one of the fastest growing real estate companies in Africa. So check them out. I'm going to put a link in the show notes about their property. Shortlet is the future of property development in Nigeria. So get your property from Femfel and start to prepare for dirty December before December comes, so you can take advantage of the crazy amount of money that is generated in Nigeria in the real estate market. And also Sales Factory Global, we are a recruitment company. We're currently recruiting salespeople for some of the largest real estate and fintech companies in the continent of Africa. So click on the link on the show notes or send us an email with your CV, and then we'll take that up from there. So please share, like, subscribe to the Paul4 Podcast on YouTube and Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. God bless you and do have a great day. Gabriel, don't go ahead. Let's just a little bit.
Okay, no problem.
Before so end the session for all.